Now, as we kind of bring the course to a close, I want to show you where we're headed. XML, since it's bringing structure and total definition and meaning to all the data that's traveling across the internet, it's taking us to some really cool places. And I'm going to show you some examples here, and then I'll show you a really cool example in a later video. And then we'll tie it up with some resources and so forth. Some of the most interesting XML technologies that are coming along right now in development are WML, or wireless markup language. The whole world's going wireless. And the wireless markup language is standardizing that world to get more and more graphics, better and better functionalities on small screen devices that are wireless. And we're talking about PDAs, smartphones, and that sort of thing. So you're starting to see a lot of really cool stuff with that. I would strongly encourage you to go out and do some searching on the internet and look what's going on in the WML world. SVG, Scalable Vector Graphics. Now you can do some really cool stuff with this in a web browser, relatively easy. And I've got an example I want to show you here. So I'm going to go back out to the desktop and open a sample SVG file that I've created for you. Now notice on the desktop, what I'm going to do is right-click Test SVG and open this in Notepad and let you see what I've got here. And I'll make it larger so it's easier to see. Notice there's not a lot happening. This is an XML document, and it's using SVG, and there's the namespace for it. Notice it's a W3C recommendation and requirements. The title of this document, SVG example, and then notice I'm using the tag ellipse, and I'm giving it, first of all, the size, the locations, and then I'm using kind of like an inline cascading style sheet type situation. It's going to be filled red. There's going to be a blue stroke around it, and the stroke width is going to be 10. So let's go take a look at this and watch what is kind of impressive. I open this up in the Internet Explorer and notice what it does. It draws a picture on the web. Looks like I've been up programming all night. Really cool functionality. I can change this very easily, obviously, simply by coming out here, opening a Notepad, changing this to yellow, making my stroke a lot larger. Well, let's make it smaller and see what happens. Open it again. Notice I've made a change. Some really, really neat stuff. So I could play with some of these settings and get all kind of graphics and stuff. Getting a lot easier to do this. Notice that's SVG extension on this, and it is recognized by Internet Explorer. Now, let's jump back over into PowerPoint and talk about some other technologies. MML is very interesting. It's a math markup language, and this is for the mathematicians and the scientists out there. It's not incorporated into most browsers, but there are browser applications built that you can work with this, and it's very impressive. Go out and do some looking around out there on the internet about the math markup language, in particular the Maya browser that will let you build these mathematical formulas with square roots and all this sort of thing in a browser. It's some really cool stuff. One that's very interesting, or actually it's two, is SMIL and HTML time. These are two technologies that are being used to provide somewhat of a multimedia experience inside the web browser. And I don't mean like through Windows Media Player or anything like that, or QuickTime or anything. I mean right in the browser window. And I've got a sample. These are competing technologies right now, driven by various vendors. The HTML time, I'll just show you a quick example of that and let you see what that's like. So again, let's jump out to the desktop. Now they're on the desktop, you notice I have an HTML time. Notice it's an HTML document. And I will open this with Notepad and make this full screen. And look at what we're doing here. Notice there's a style in the head up here, and we're calling a behavior in Internet Explorer. Then, notice in the body down here, the class is time, pointing back up here. But notice we're putting some repeat duration, timeline information, and then we're telling different pieces, or notice this is an example of HTML time right here. And notice we've got different begin times and durations on these to control, and what we're going to do is control when these things come into the browser. And this is some kind of cool stuff. Notice when I open it up, this is an example of HTML time. Now that actually opened up in the Avant browser. Let me right click, open this in Internet Explorer, and you'll see it does the same thing. Now you'll notice that these browsers are picking this stuff up. So there's a lot of things going on in the background that you may or may not hear about or know about, but there's a lot going on in the XML world. And again, keep in mind the XML structure of setting these tags and determining these tags and setting structure is what's causing this to come about. So you're going to start to see a really wild internet develop over the next few years as XML continues to expand. Now, in the next video, we're going to talk just a minute. I want to show you some examples of some of the 3D stuff that's going on out there and what that's going to do to the web. And again, it's XML driven.